Now, you're not of the opinion, therefore, if I understand you correctly, that the best road to peace is some sort of two-state solution. That's not your vision. Your vision is more, there's a Jewish state. We create it in a way that we can live side by side in peace with our Arab, Palestinian, Bedouin neighbors, but it's going to be one state and not two. Is that your opinion? What do you think is the road to peace? You have a unique perspective living there. You're you've got your own show. You're quite learned and knowledgeable. I've been listening to a lot of your stuff. You know what's going on. Tell us what you think is the most realistic path to peace.
The Jewish vision is uniquely, in particular, Jewish, but it is a universal idea that by us being the best Jews that we can be a blessing to the world. And so, why is it important to be in Judea? They want to establish a two-state solution in Judea. And so, I want to think about that on a few levels. One, from my farm to Jerusalem is about 8 miles. So let me ask you a question. How long would the war in the Ukraine last if the Ukraine was 8 miles wide? That war would last about 5
It would have
minutes.
been over. It would have been
Yeah.
over 10
And,
minutes after it started.
and so I don't believe in Israel giving up our independence and our security to rely on perhaps one administration's promises or NATO's promises. I think that the Jewish people need to rely on the Jewish people, and a strong and independent Israel is the only way for that to ever happen. So a two-state solution, just on that alone, it's just not an option. It's not an option. It's not a viable option.
And the reason you believe, and this is important for our listeners to hear, so I want you to clarify, the reason you believe it would be dangerous is because you think that the leadership, whoever the leadership would be, we don't even know if it, the Palestinian Authority, it certainly wouldn't be Hamas, but whoever the leadership would be, you simply would not be able to rely that they somehow wouldn't turn against and use like what happened in Gaza, that would the same thing would happen in Yehuda v'Shomron, in Judea and Samaria. Is that the concern?
I'm saying much more than that. I'm saying not only do I not rely, that is exactly what will happen. Whatever happened in Gaza will happen there. Whatever happened in Lebanon with the Hezbollah now will happen there. I know that that will happen, but I'm not even so concerned necessarily just about the Arabs living within the land of Israel. What happens when Iran gets involved? What happens if Egypt gets involved? There have been times Israel has been attacked by multiple armies at the same time. And if Israel's borders are 9 miles wide, I'm not just thinking about what will happen in Judea and Samaria. I'm thinking about Israel's future 30 years down the road, 40 years down the road. Who knows what political changes might happen? But that's just on a very basic survival level. But I want to talk now on a different level, a second level. I live in the mountains of Judea, and my farm overlooks the Judean desert. And I'm considered to be a West Bank colonizing, occupying settler in Area C of the Oslo Accords, and I'm told to evacuate this political territory. It almost sounds legitimate, but for all the listeners here, and I know because I say this to every person that comes to the farm, I know that most of the listeners, as most of the people that come to the farm, do not know the answer to this question. Why are Jews called Jews? In the Torah, we're not called a Jew. Abraham is called an Ivri, he's called a Hebrew. And then we're called Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, Israelites. Where did the word Jew come from? We're not called Jews. Where's that? That's not in the Torah. Why are we called Jews today? If you're a Jew in New York, you're called a Jew. If you're a Jew in Tel Aviv, you're called a Jew. If you're in Hong Kong, Jews around the world, our identity today is called Jews. And most people don't know why we're called Jews. And so some people say, maybe we're from the tribe of Judah. That's what we're from. But that's not true. The first person in the Bible to be called a Jew is Mordechai in the book of Esther. It says, Mordechai ha-Yehudi, Mordechai the Jew. Ish Yemini, a man from the tribe of Benjamin. If he's from the tribe of Benjamin, why is he called a Jew? Why are we called Jews? It would be important for us to know as Jews, why are we called that? Jews are called Jews because we are from Judea. Japanese, they're from Japan. Mexicans, they're from Mexico. Chinese are from China. Germans are from Germany. Jews, we're from Judea. The land, the Judean mountains, the Judean desert, Eretz Yehuda, the land of Judea is what birthed our identity as Jews. So when the United Nations or the European Union says West Bank colonizing, occupying settlers, evacuate Area C, what they're really saying is, Jews, get out of Judea. And if a Jew can't live as a free Jew in Judea, Rabbi, it's just a matter of time until Jews won't be free in New York. If a Jew does not have a right to be free in our indigenous homeland, and we cannot stand up for our moral rights to live as free Jews in Judea, Jews will not be free anywhere in the world. So I don't just see our farmers on the front lines of settlement of the Jews in Israel. I see ourselves on the front lines of Jewish rights for every Jew in the world. Now, that's why a two-state solution is also immoral. It's not only strategically ridiculous and insanely dangerous, it's also immoral. But now, so what do? What then is the solution? So the solution is really complicated. It's not complicated in its implementation, but it's complicated in its the virtues that it would require of Israel to reveal in the world. Because on one hand, it would have to come from a very deep place of love and respect, like Rabbi Riskin would teach. And so every Arab that lives in the land of Israel needs to be guarded, needs to be empowered, needs to know how precious they are to the people of Israel, that God, in some mysterious way, chose them to live among us as a ger, as a stranger in our land. And as so, the Torah tells us 36 times, be kind to the stranger in your land. And so we have a responsibility to uplift these people, that many of them are illiterate. They're all being brainwashed in their mosques. They're all being brainwashed in their schools to hate Jews, to hate every infidel. And so we need to, out of a place of love, take responsibility for the Arabs inside Israel. And what does that also mean? That's a place of love. But then when there is an Arab in the land of Israel that raises a rock against a Jew, or like we saw over Pesach, walks over to the D family and executes a mother and their two daughters at point blank with 20 bullets, that Arab needs to be put to death. And I would also say, whoever created such a thing, there needs to be a punishment. And so, on one hand, we have love and empowerment towards those that want to join and live in peace with us. Like we reached out to Dubai, like we reached out to Morocco, we can make peace here. And those that don't want peace, out, will throw you into Gaza. Gaza will become our new prison, or will execute you, and there will be a death penalty in Israel. And we take their bodies and we wrap them in pigskins, the way that the British do. And we bury terrorists who kill children in pigskins. And then they won't get their world to come according to their religion. We need to do whatever we need to do to ensure that no Jews are killed in the land of Israel by any terrorists ever. And if there is one that is killed by a terrorist, that terrorist and whatever created that terrorist, even if it's just a post on Facebook, that needs to be rooted out entirely. I spent Hanukkah in Dubai last year. There is zero crime in Dubai. It's hard for us to imagine because you live in New York and Chicago and Israel. There's crime and terrorism everywhere. A world without any crime? It was unbelievable. I sent my daughter in downtown Dubai to go across the street to go get us some food from the Makolet to bring back for dinner. And I had no concern, even though there were Afghani people on one corner, some African people on the other corner. There's zero crime because the leader of Dubai is a brilliant man. And he actually says, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof. He's teaching us about justice. And he says an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And there is zero tolerance to crime. And so Israel needs to adopt that exact approach. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. So on one hand, we need to empower the Arabs that want to be partners with us, that want to live among us, that want to be partners in building this country, which I believe has the potential of quite literally being the kingdom of God on earth. And on the other ones, if they're not, it's a holy land, and unholy people need to be removed from that land.